in reality, we are here for a very brief time. So that means that every interaction that we have with someone, we need to have the greatest impact possible.
Got really existential there.
We did. No, we got real done.
I was just like, oh, you just want to use the microphone because it makes your voice louder. It's like, or they'll never know you.
The easiest way to put someone to sleep is to just use the same pitch over and over again.
I think a lot of performers do this because they think it amplifies their performance. They don't.
You are about to hear the happiest story of the Columbus Arts Festival. What's up, Columbus? Oh, that's how we're going to be? That's how we're going to be? No, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. We can try again. Oh, what's up, Columbus? Matthias, we're going to drop people with 5 tips that I need you guys to be considering the next time you are in front of a microphone. But why is this even important? Why are these speech tips really important for considering when we are using our voice, Matthias?
Why are they important?
Why are they important?
There's a lot of reasons. I think there is a lot of core values or a lot of like core performance values or like just speaking values that you use when you're talking just normally in conversation or with people that are lost because you're talking to an audience. And so one of the ways to kind of amplify them is by making sure that you have great audio and that you're using the audio correctly. So
I think a lot of us are speaking in a way that permits us to be forgotten. We are not trying to stand out. We're not trying to fill a space. We think that every interaction that we have with people is forgettable. When in reality, we are here for a very brief time. So that means that every interaction that we have with someone, we need to have the greatest impact possible.
Got really existential there.
We did. No, we got real done.
I was just like, oh, you just want to use the microphone because it makes your voice louder. It's like, or they'll never know you.
It's not they won't know you. They'll know you briefly and then forget about you. So that's
fair.
That's what we're trying to change a little bit. So, Matthias, I'll start with you, if that's okay. So if we had to drop 5 tips to help people use their voice to really have an impact on others, what would be the first tip you would do?
The first thing that I would say, and this is like a really common thing because I think a lot of performers do this because they think it amplifies their performance. They don't use the mic. So like they'll have a mic available and then they'll be like, do you mind if I move this out of the way because I don't think I'm not one of those artists. Like I am different. And the way that I do art is I just yell at you. And I think one of the really important things that you have to understand about that is, again, when we're talking about the performance of your poem, if you have a microphone, you have range, right? So I can talk really, calm like this, or I can expand and I can talk a lot louder like this. I can use different voices and different tones. But when you have to stretch your voice because you have to yell at people because you've taken your assistance away, now you're kind of relegated to just that one yelling tone. So if there's something that kind of required you to, talk a little bit lower, if your poem has that kind of register, then you're losing that because you've decided, hey, I don't need my microphone.
I think that's a great tip, and that's what I want to build on a little bit. So, believe it or not, I don't do poetry all the time. I know it's crazy. We're not there just yet, but we're working towards it. But by day, I am a pronunciation coach, and I've learned a lot about how American English works and the things that English is really looking for. And if I had to summarize the things that English is looking for, the biggest word I would use is contrast. So the tips that I'm going to be giving you are going to be about how can you use more contrast in your speech. In fact, I just did it right there, and it actually speaks to what Matthias talked about. American English is huge on pitch. Did you see what I just did? Huge on pitch. Sometimes when you go really, really high, sometimes it's not appropriate. And in fact, this often happens in the same discourse. This can happen in the same sentence. This can happen in any sort of conversation that we're having. So how does this relate to microphone usage? Well, you may have noticed, if any of you have been to, how many of you guys have been to open mic before? Or a show, or heard people read? Okay. Don't you think it's kind of interesting that people that are so interested in words don't know how to convey those words? Because how often have you been to the reading where it's like, all right, I'm going to read like this, and this is what the character said, and this is my poem, and every single thing that I tell you, I'm going to use this pitch, and I'm never going to change it, and you're going to like it, and then when I'm done, you're going to clap for me. Did you enjoy that? Like, real talk, did you enjoy that? Was that a good experience for you? No. Sucked. It was horrible. God. Some of you listening to this and watching this are doing the same thing. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you, but you're doing the same exact thing. So, how do you change it? Well, ask yourself, okay, for the last thing I just said, what pitch was I using? So then the next thing I'm going to say, I'm going to change it. And then 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 I'm going to change it. We have to add contrast to what we're saying. Because the easiest way to put someone to sleep, and I'm a dad, so I know this, the easiest way to put someone to sleep is to just use the same pitch over and over again.
Yeah. You know, it actually reminds me, I feel like, okay, I don't know how many people here have been to like a very black church before, right? But you'll notice like when the pastor starts, and like, you know, he's talking kind of regular, and I feel like it always like lulls you in, because like you're thinking like, oh, this is gonna just be a normal kind of situation, and then like literally like within 20 minutes, like there's people standing up, yelling, crying, screaming out because he's been able to increase his intensity. But it's because of the fact that he has that microphone, he has like a sound system that's like kind of all around him, and then people are able to really be kind of brought in, because again, he's standing far away from you a lot of times, and you know, depending on how large the like kind of the church is, but because he has that ability to kind of fluctuate his voice, you're able to really kind of be stirred up in the emotion.
What's your second tip, sir? Or third tip? I don't know what order we're doing. What's your next tip?
We're on two. I think we're...
What's your next tip, sir?
My next tip, I would say, is it would kind of be connected to modulation. But it's really just a matter of like kind of being able to know your work, so that when you're conveying it like on the microphone or on stage, that's one of the things you're correcting for. A lot of times we have kind of like a one note like performance style that only really allows us to kind of enter into one range. But when you understand your work, and I mean, it's one of the things that I worked on a lot when I was doing slam a lot more, because, and I don't know, shout out to everybody. Has anybody slammed before, been in a poetry slam? There we go. Anybody like watch slam, like watch like button poetry? Okay, cool. So you'll notice there's a good amount of poems that, regardless of their topic or sentiment, are performed kind of the same way, and you are just talking like this, but oh no, I am in the meadow again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like that kind of thing, but that doesn't always work well with your poem. It doesn't always work well with like your topic or your subject matter. So really understanding your work and that being incorporated in your practice, not just knowing what you're saying, but knowing how you're going to say it.
And I think the more you know your work, this leads into my next point, which again is tied to contrast. We talked about contrast through pitch. Another way you can show contrast is through speed. Oh my gosh, I just did it there. Another way you can show contrast is through speed. Intentionally using speed. Because again, how many times have you heard someone reading the poem, reading the story, the same regular velocity the entire time? Doesn't need to be. Sometimes the most effective thing you say can be really, really fast, actually, but then I can make anything sound really, really important if I just go slow. I'm not saying anything of real great value, right? But it sounds so important.
Yeah. You know who gets a lot of, I would say, rightful criticism and like kind of general criticism? Has anybody ever watched like a Shonda Rhimes show, like Grey's Anatomy, like all those shows? Like all the characters, they're like, they have this speaking pattern where everybody's giving a speech. Everybody's line delivery is like everybody's giving a speech, and they do that exact thing. And like you get caught up in it because you're just like, man, like this seems like a really impactful moment. But then it's just like that conversation meant nothing. Like actually, they're like, we didn't get anywhere. But because she's really good, she really found a really good pocket of kind of a speech pattern, and like she was able to really train those actors to be able to assimilate to that speech pattern. Now you have somebody that like they're talking really, really fast, but then they kind of slow down on these couple parts that are really meaningful and impactful to you, right. And so you're kind of going along that same speech pattern as those actors. So yeah, that's a really interesting, really cool point.
Do you have a really interesting point?
I think so. Do I have a really interesting point? Okay. Well, which one are we on? We're on number
1,000.
Fair enough. So, speech point number 1,000. Well, I mean, I don't know. This is something that's helped me on a personal level, and it's really. I think when it comes to like observing people that have different voices in a different voice range, trying to speak in them or kind of live within those voice ranges. And the thing that helps helps me in those is that if I'm able to take really helpful tips as far as like how somebody speaks, or maybe a way like certain people say words, like the way that like Denzel Washington like says like a game like I'm not playing games, I'm not like those are things that I'm like I really appreciate the way he says that, and I'm not going to use his voice all the time, but the way that he says that really kind of informs the way that I'm able to kind of carry through in like different like sentence patterns. So I don't know, just taking pointers from
like, that's actually a strategy I use with students, in the sense that like having students. Let me rephrase. We have to understand that right now we're very biased because we act in a way that feels very natural to us, and it's hard to change that. And some of these things that we're talking about, I'm asking you to change, honestly, kind of who you think you are and what feels comfortable to you. Because doing some of this stuff is going to make you uncomfortable. For instance, when you're talking, when I was a teacher, a common teaching strategy is when you ask a question, before you say anything else, you wait 10 seconds. If you ask a question to someone, I need you to wait 10 seconds. It's really hard to do. It's a long time. And it's going to feel double as long to you. But these things are really, really important. We have to embrace the things that feel uncomfortable. We have to embrace the things because we're trying to make radical change. And so, one way that you can try to make that a little bit easier for yourself is to not be yourself. So for instance, something I try to do with students is like, hey, we're going to like talk like, I need you to talk like Mickey Mouse for 2 minutes. Or I need you to talk like Darth Vader for 2 minutes. Sometimes taking on a mask, a separate identity that's not yourself, and talking like that character. Like for instance, if you have a poem, read your poem in Mickey Mouse's voice. Read it in Darth Vader's voice. Read it in Denzel's voice. Read it in your mom's voice. Read it in someone else's voice, because sometimes that gives us the freedom to try things that for ourselves would be a little bit uncomfortable. That's just to build on what you said.
Yeah, no, you know, one of the things that like that's really funny about what you said is that like I think that a lot of times we're training ourselves, especially when it comes to our work and our poems, we're like, be yourself, like you know. And so I think that, and that's a really good sentiment to keep when it comes to, especially when it comes to, I think, how you're presenting your writing. And I think this is like kind of the more like kind of broad sense when it comes to like voice. Because a lot of times the thing that we're thinking is, you know, if I'm myself in my poem, then that's the best way to convey the message. But a lot of times if we can put ourselves in the minds of somebody else while we're writing the poem, it kind of gives us a different view of the subject matter, and maybe one that's a little bit more interesting than just like kind of the typical first person.
I think it actually allows us to become who we actually are. How many of you guys, any parents? I know some of you got kids. I know some of your kids got kids and things like that. One of the nice things about kids is the emotion that they give you is genuine. It's pure emotion. Like when a kid is sad, it is pure sadness. When a kid is happy and like just overjoyed, it's really, really pure. Adults, you can't trust adults. I don't trust you guys. I don't trust any of you.
That's fair.
Because we've learned nuance. right? We can be really angry in our heads, but when I talk to you, I can say, "Oh, hi, how's it going?" Like how I talk to P every time. I'm not mad at you, P. I'm just kidding. You know, we're very deceptive, and so by taking on these characters, what we can do is we can actually begin to kind of tap into who we are again, because these are aspects of ourselves that we used to have. We're just kind of re-adding them to our tool belt again because we've been repressing them. So it's going to feel like exaggeration to us, but in reality, it's just elements of ourselves that we've lost just through conditioning and repression.
I feel like I should be laying on the couch right now and like just really.
You should, honestly.
Like that couch is actually very deceptively. It is not comfortable at all. Whatever. I know it looks. I know it looks
soft,
amazing.
But it also looks like it's made out of stone. Jocelyn, can you like get a close up on that couch? No, look at the couch with the camera. Yes, look at that. That thing looks like it either looks extremely soft or it looks like it's made out of concrete.
Yeah, it's like it's very unfortunate because like I was like looking at him like from here I would just run and then jump on it, but then
yeah, it's
I would have a concussion for sure.
It looks really like it looks hard. Anyways, I have a question for my audience. Actually, do you mind if do you mind if I ask our audience something? So, I have a question for you all, Alexia. Who here has a really happy story? Something happy that happened to you in the last like week, 2 weeks. Does anyone have a happy story? I have a challenge for you. Sierra, are you brave? Would you be brave enough to come up here and tell? Ooh! Oh! I'm called out today. Oh! God! Oh, Jeff, why'd you do that? Would you be willing to or no? I have a task for you. If you're brave. If you're not brave, that's okay.
If you're brave, I mean, if you're not, yeah, I mean, say less.
Okay. Guys, give a hand for Sierra. Come on. She's opening this up. How long is this story, Sierra? How long is this story?
Literally like a second, 2 seconds.
Do you think you can extend it
Popsicles.
for like 5 seconds?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. All right. Why don't you try to extend it for 5 seconds? So I have a challenge for you, okay? Because this is actually going to tie into my next point. It ties into kind of this like idea, like for my slam poets out there or my poetry performers out there. Do you guys memorize your pieces or no? Not yet. I see some people saying yes. Okay. Sometimes I think that we memorize our pieces though, not fully understanding why we're memorizing the piece. You know, like we memorize it because we're like, oh, I should memorize it, but not really understanding why we're memorizing it. And so I want to show you one of the advantages you can do if you memorize a piece versus if you don't. And this comes from someone, I do not memorize my pieces. Okay. So, Sierra, what we're going to do, I'm going to put you right here. You're going to tell us our story. But I want you to imagine you're holding your phone the entire time with your hands. Okay, so I want you to keep your hands like this. Okay, keep your hands like this. Kathy, are we good on time?
Oh, you're doing great.
Oh, cool. All right. So, Sierra at the Primus. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage.
This is
present
good.
to you. Sierra, don't interrupt me. Please. I beg you.
You'll have your time.
You are about to hear the happiest story of the Columbus Arts Festival 2024. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So I need you to be here. I need you to tell your story. I want you to act like you're reading on your phone, okay?
Okay.
Sierra!
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sierra. My most exciting news is that I got accepted into the Arts Festival, and I have a few of my, I have more than a few of my pieces up there. So they're showcasing my art, and it's for sale. So, yeah, that's perfect. That's my thing.
Okay. How'd you guys like that? Did you get happiness from that? Did you sense happiness? Did you sense joy?
No.
I was saddened by that.
It's hard to impress. We got a tough crowd. That's all right. Because a little confused. You felt confused. Okay.
She's the cameraman. She's breaking fourth wall.
So we're gonna try something, and we're gonna see if this works. I'm going to tell Sierra a secret, okay? And I'm going to see if the secret works. And then after that, we'll discuss. If that's cool, say cool.
He's telling her that they're going to make an Inspector Gadget 4. Finally. Third one was a cliffhanger.
Wait, I'll introduce you again.
Okay.
You got it. Alright, so we're going to do our second take now. I want you to pretend, I want you to remember it, but I want you to kind of forget it. Okay. It's like when they tell you like to forgive but don't forget kind of thing. I want you to like do that. Okay.
I always remember.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage at the Word is Art Festival, you are about to hear the happiest story that you have heard today, and quite possibly your life. Please give a warm welcome to Sierra.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Sierra. I have some very exciting news for you guys today. I got accepted into the Arts Festival, so I have some art at the Big Local Arts tent. It is ready for purchase. So come get your art and brighten up your homes.
Good job again from Sierra. Thank you. That's it. You did great. Okay. What did you guys like more? Did you like the first time more or the second time more? People don't even remember the first one, and people are immediately saying the second one. What changed? What is she? What? Let me rephrase. So I took her back there, and I just talked to her for 3 seconds. That's all it took, and you automatically like the second one more. How did I change it in 3 seconds? Why was she more natural? I need more. What did I tell her specifically? I didn't say be more natural. What did I tell her? I told her one thing. Did I tell you confidence? What did? That's that's good. I'm glad you did. That's important. What did I tell her? You all like the second one more. I talked to her for 3 seconds, and then she automatically changed it. What changed? What did I tell her? Why? No. Think more to the first thing you said. She put her phone down. Why?
Make eye contact?
I told her, Sierra, I want you to use your hands. In 3 seconds, I told Sierra, I want you to use your hands. That's it. That's the only thing. Because the reality is, if I talk like this, it's really hard to get invested. A dull body relates to a dull tone in your speech. We are all connected. Your body is connected to your mind. You've probably heard that advice that if you're feeling sad, if that's what you said, I can cheer you up.
That's fair.
Okay, so nice. I want you to smile for 10 seconds.
What?
Everyone just smile. Just smile everyone for 10 seconds. It's going to be great.
Free cheeseburgers?
So one of the things you'll notice when you smile for 10 seconds is it automatically changes the next thing you say. It's naturally going to pick up everything.
It's crazy because cheeseburgers were not free. They were $1.99.
They are giving out free Tim Hortons if you find the right person out there. It's a pro tip for your arts festival.
Find Tim. He'll be out there.
Your body has a huge impact on your communication. If you want to sound more natural with the person that you're talking to, incorporate your body. So, for instance, if you're talking about one group of people over here and then another group of people over there, you can do like that. Maybe you need them to come together. Maybe you need them to separate. Maybe you need to think about it. Maybe you need to talk about it. Maybe you need to listen a little bit better. What are the other hand gestures that you can do that incorporate your body and tie it together with the words you're using? Because all of this has an impact on the words you're saying. Carl, do you have a question? Okay, come up to the mic because we cannot hear you. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a nice warm welcome to McCall from the audience all the way to the stage.
The audience.
Arts Festival, our lovely Catherine here had told us that if we were going to perform and needed something in our hands, we should use that as like a prop for our performance. So what I did was I used my phone, but because of the poem that I was performing, I tried to use it as a prop. So I was like acting like I was scrolling and talking about my poem. So that's something that you could also do as well.
Props. All right. Props are props. Yes. Okay. Sounds like a long-winded point, but the next time you're talking to someone, I don't care if it's on a stage, I don't care if it's on a microphone, I don't care if it's on a Zoom call, I don't care if it's in person. Just talk to someone for like 2 minutes without using your body, and then talk to that same person, keep the conversation going, but then do 2 minutes using your body and see how that changes things for you. Because honestly, and you saw this here, it happens extremely fast. It's automatic. This is why you memorize a poem. Because if you memorize a poem, it makes it much easier to incorporate the whole experience. Beat that, sir.
No, I actually want to build on that because I also whenever I'm memorizing a poem, it typically doesn't happen because I'm trying to make it happen. It happens because like I'm figuring things out about the poem that were unnatural maybe when I just wrote it, but it became natural and it became a lot more fluent like through either performance or from the writing or from just things that I found out in the performance. And so as far as like memorizing the poem, I would say like just make sure that you are not just memorizing it just like looking it on the piece of paper.
Right.
Like memorize it by actually performing the poem and like performing it like you would on a stage like this or on an open mic or something like that. Because yeah, I mean using body language throughout the course of your poem, that can really kind of incorporate like, well, I understand what my body is doing at this time in the poem. So if I understand what my body is doing at this time of a poem, I can connect it to the actual words in the poem.
I'll keep it on you for a moment with us. I think this is probably our last point because I know we're getting right up against time. This is all very sad, but I hope that you're already getting things that you can implement the very next time you talk to your neighbor. Maybe you talk to me. Maybe. When I envision things like this, close my eyes. Maybe after the show, you'll find me and say, "Jeff, I just want to practice talking with you." With my hands. Maybe you'll slap me across the face and I'll say, "Ouch." I don't know what the experience will be, but maybe we'll just that's
wake them up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, "Jeff, I just want to practice talking. Please come to your door." No, I'll give out his address after this. Just knock on his door and then he'll come because he's like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. What else is he gonna do?
That's great. Probably teach. Last point.
Okay, one of the things that I think really helped me in my development of my voice in my work is being able to narrow down the things that are actually interesting to me. I think one of the things that we do as artists is that we see like a wave of different types of poems that get performed, and we just want to kind of fit into that wave of like those kind of poems. A really good example is so there's this poet. They're actually in Cincinnati. But he's a great guy. And we actually had this whole conversation, like we're on the same side. But great guy. But his name is Dan, right? And like when I say his name is Dan, like I'm pretty sure his parents like they didn't spring for the rest like Daniel or anything like that. His name is just Dan. And there is a kind of poem where essentially poets are essentially educating you on how to say their name. And as you could probably assume, like it works a lot better when your name is like fairly elaborate, or if people are like mispronouncing your name a lot, right? Like that's kind of the only way that kind of poem can work. But because a lot of people were doing those kinds of poems, like Dan was like, I want to do that kind of poem. But then in the middle of the poem, like everybody's wondering, like, are people mispronouncing Dan? Like, I don't think people are doing that. And so yeah, I just think that in his performance of it, it was like. It wasn't a really natural kind of performance for him, and he performed it a lot. And he was trying to figure out, why can't I get this performance more natural? And I just remember, like, we're all saying, like, Dan, I think it's because it's not really a problem that you're encountering. Like, you also don't believe the poem. And because you don't believe the poem, it's really hard for you to really make the audience believe the poem. So like make the poems at the very, even if they're kind of outside of the box ideas, which I heavily encourage, make sure they're outside of the box ideas that you can really believe and that you're really on the side of. And in that way, when you're trying to convey it to the audience, I mean, the first person, like they say it in sales all the time, the first person you got to sell is yourself. And that way you can sell it to everybody else.